There are people in the world who simply defy everything we understand as normal. And when we talk about these women here, you'd better get ready. These are cases so different they almost seem like a lie, but they aren't. And that's exactly what you're going to see here today. So leave a like, click the subscribe button down below, and let's go. Ariana Covarrubias had everything to live away from the world, but that's not what she chose. Since she was born, she has lived with a rare genetic condition called recessive dystrophic epidermolysis bullosa, which makes the skin extremely sensitive. Any friction can open painful wounds, like severe burns. Changing bandages has been part of her routine since she was a baby, and it's not simple. Every time the dressings come off, new injured areas appear. Eating can cause blisters inside the mouth. Taking a shower burns and hurts. Even walking becomes a challenge, since the body's weight creates wounds on the feet. In many moments, what for many people is automatic becomes for her a test of endurance. When she was a child, her esophagus became so narrow because of scarring that she couldn't even swallow saliva. In 2007, she needed a feeding tube and spent years connected to a machine to receive nutrients. This also affected her self-esteem. While other girls chose clothes without thinking, she dealt with curious stares, awkward questions, and people assuming she had suffered burns. Even so, instead of hiding, she turned on the camera. In 2017, she started posting videos showing her real routine, without drama and without hiding the bandages. She wants people to understand that despite the pain and the limits, she keeps living, dreaming, and doing what she likes. Her goal is simple: spread self-esteem, respect, and remind everyone that what seems small to some can be gigantic to others. Masi is a young woman who drew attention all over the world for a very unusual reason. She has possibly the longest legs on the planet, measuring 1 meter and 98 in height. She has 1 meter and 53 of legs alone, a number bigger than the current world record, which belongs to Ekaterina Lysina from Russia. The family has even said they intend to call the Guinness people to measure officially. Even though it's impressive, her routine isn't all advantages. When it's time to get dressed, the mission becomes almost impossible. Pants that fit? Almost never. Jeans then, she doesn't even try anymore, because she simply can't find styles that reach the right size. In stores, the scene is always similar. The clothes fit the torso but come up short on the legs. Even when her friends compliment her, you can tell she doesn't like going to the mall because of the embarrassment she feels. Masi grew quickly from an early age. At just 18 months, she already looked bigger than others her age. Her parents are of average height, between 1 meter and 60 and 1 meter and 70, but both she and her brother inherited genetics no one expected. Today, she faces life naturally. She says it's cool to be able to spot friends in the middle of a crowd, but she also talks about the annoying parts, like hitting her head on doorways and hearing comments or seeing people taking photos without asking. She says she doesn't see herself as a rarity. She just considers herself tall and keeps living like any other girl. Miriam and Michelle live in Miami and have a very clear goal: to be identical in everything. And when they say everything, it's literally everything. Same body measurements, same routine, same style, and even the same surgeries. They joke that even the stairs on the street go straight to the same part of the body, and that, yes, even that is the same. The two keep a demanding routine to maintain the look they want. They train around 8 hours a day. The diet is also synchronized down to the millimeter. If one puts 4 slices of turkey breast on the plate, the other does the same. And to this day, even living in separate houses, they still stay glued together. They're neighbors and sleep at each other's place almost every day. Their work follows the same pattern too. Both work at a cosmetic surgery clinic and have already gone through identical aesthetic procedures, starting with breast augmentation with the same doctor and the same size. Even the car, clothes, and shopping routine make the list of shared things. And of course, this double image drew attention. They started posting photos on Instagram and without expecting much, watched their audience explode. Photo shoots, trips, modeling work, and invitations around the world followed. Friends think it's funny. Their brothers get jealous of the attention they receive from other men, and their mother, well, they prefer not to tell everything to avoid a scolding. In the end, they insist they don't share everything. One thing is a rule: boyfriends are not shared, but fame, outfits, and flashes, then yes, everything doubled. Tammy from West Hollywood decided to follow a path very different from most women her age. While many people try to lose weight or maintain it, she has a completely opposite goal. She wants to be as heavy as possible, and she treats it almost like a full-time job. At 23 years old, Tammy already totals around 105 kilos and weighs herself in the morning and at night to track every bit of progress. If the number doesn't go up, she puts together a boosted menu immediately. On a typical day, she orders things like waffles, bacon, chocolate milk, donuts, cheese, everything to make sure the weight keeps climbing. The one who encourages this lifestyle is her boyfriend, Johan, who celebrates every extra gram with her. According to Tammy, this pursuit began after years of feeling insecure about her body. She says that when she hit something between 80 and 90 kilos, she finally felt good about herself. From there, she decided she wanted to go further and turn it into a career. Today, she records videos eating and showing her body to a fan base that follows every change. But not everyone sees it positively. Her best friend worries about her health and even got scared when she found out it was all planned. A doctor has also warned about serious risks and a reduced life expectancy. Even so, Tammy says she doesn't plan to stop. Her goal is to reach 150 kilos, make money from it, and keep growing. Literally. Having a life without pain sounds like a dream for many people, but in the case of the Scottish woman Jo Cameron, it became a medical mystery that took a decade to be understood. Jo is 75 years old and only discovered her condition after hand surgery back in 2013. The anesthetist said she would feel a huge discomfort after the procedure. She replied, completely naturally, "I won't feel anything," and she really didn't. She didn't even need to take medicine. That caught the doctor's attention, and he decided to refer the case to specialists at University College London and the University of Oxford. They collected blood and tissue to study her DNA, and after 6 years, they came back with the answer. Jo has 2 extremely rare mutations. One of them is in a gene called FA-out, which until recently was seen as an irrelevant part of DNA. The thing is that in her body, this change switches off a pathway linked to pain, mood, and even memory. The result? Jo practically doesn't feel physical pain, isn't afraid, and barely deals with anxiety. On top of that, her body recovers faster. Scientists say her cells heal between 20 and 30% faster than normal. For decades, Jo lived like this, thinking she was simply tough. Today, she is officially the only person known on the planet with this specific combination of mutations, and her case paves the way for new research, which may help people who suffer from chronic pain in the future. This is Sarah Gertz, an American model who turned what many called an imperfection into a symbol of strength and self-esteem. Since she was little, she noticed her body was different. At 7 years old, she noticed her skin was far more elastic than other children's and even thought she had superpowers. But at 10 came the diagnosis, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, a hereditary disorder that affects collagen and leaves the skin extremely flexible and delicate. In her case, there is also an extremely rare variant called dermatosparaxis, recorded in very few cases in the world. In childhood, it didn't seem like a problem, but in adolescence, everything changed. As her body transformed, the skin became looser, and the stares and judgment started to weigh on her. Sarah tried to hide her body and used an outgoing personality as a defense to avoid comments about her condition. The turning point happened at 24 years old when she was going through a difficult moment and met the photographer Brianna Berglund, who would become her girlfriend. With Brianna's encouragement and support from people close to her, Sarah did her first photo shoot showing her skin with pride. It was the start of a new phase. She began sharing her story on social media, showing that vulnerability is also strength. Today, at 29 years old, Sarah is a model and an advocate for self-love. She speaks openly about her condition and about the importance of seeing beauty outside the standard. Her message is clear. Everyone deserves respect, visibility, and the chance to feel beautiful. For her, true beauty begins when we stop hiding and learn to be kind to ourselves. Harnum Kaur's story is a striking example of self-acceptance and emotional strength. Still in childhood, she realized her body didn't follow the standards considered normal. Because of polycystic ovary syndrome, she started developing facial hair very early. Without understanding what was happening, she tried to hide her appearance in every possible way, resorting to waxing, creams, and other painful methods that became part of her routine. As she grew, the prejudice also increased. At school and on the streets, Harnum received cruel nicknames, judging stares, and aggressive negative comments. Over time, this rejection affected her mental health. She isolated herself and lived through moments of deep sadness, even harming herself and questioning her own worth. Everything began to change when at 16 years old, she made the decision to embrace her true appearance and own her identity. Guided by her faith and tired of trying to please impossible standards, she chose to live according to what she believed was right. At first, even her family worried about the impact this could have on her future, but little by little, Harnum found support from people close to her and learned to face her condition with pride. Today, she inspires others to accept their bodies and unique traits. Working in education and on social media, she receives messages of support from all over the world and has become a symbol of self-esteem, authenticity, and courage for those who face judgment for being different. Cassandra Bankson, an influencer known for speaking openly about self-esteem and skincare, lived an extremely rare medical situation that surprised her followers and even doctors. For many years, she dealt with irregular menstrual cycles, intense cramps, and hormonal swings so strong they affected her mood and routine. For her, all of that seemed like a natural consequence of family and genetic issues, since conditions like severe acne and emotional disorders were common in her family. But in her case, there was something more. The discovery happened in a totally unexpected way. One day, after feeling a strong pain in her lower back, she decided to seek medical care. The tests initially seemed normal until professionals noticed something unusual. Cassandra had only one kidney. To clarify everything, she went through a more complete investigation, and in that process, doctors discovered another trait. She was born with two separate internal reproductive systems, each with its own structures, if you know what I mean. This condition explains her pain, her irregular cycles, and other symptoms she experienced from a very young age. The influencer took the news with surprise, but also with humor and curiosity. Since then, she has shared her experience with the public, answering questions and demystifying the topic so that other people with rare conditions don't feel alone or confused. Cassandra continues producing content, reinforcing her mission to support those who struggle with physical or emotional insecurities, and showing that even with unique challenges, it's possible to live with confidence and lightness. Anastasia Pokryszczuk, a Ukrainian model and influencer, became known worldwide for her striking appearance and for claiming to have the biggest cheeks in the world. At 32 years old, she became a controversial figure on social media, amassing hundreds of thousands of followers who track her aesthetic transformation and her beauty routine. It all began when Anastasia was 26 years old. At the time, she decided to change her appearance and began a gradual process of facial modifications, motivated by a personal desire to highlight her features and achieve a unique look. She says that when she saw the first changes in her face, she fell in love with the result and decided to continue. Since then, she has consistently invested in cosmetic procedures and says she does it because she likes it and feels good that way. On social media, Anastasia often appears with colorful hair, contact lenses, and intense makeup. Recently, she surprised people by posting old photos, showing what she looked like before the transformations. The images drew attention because of the huge difference between before and after, which caused shock among internet users. Despite the criticism and negative comments she receives, Anastasia says she doesn't plan to stop. For her, her appearance is a personal choice and a form of expression. She emphasizes that she understands her aesthetic may seem unusual to some, but she guarantees she is satisfied and confident with her current image, defending that each person should have the freedom to feel good about themselves. Yanina is a young woman who became an inspiration to thousands of people on social media. Born without upper and lower limbs, she faced challenges from an early age and had to adapt to do activities that many consider simple. However, throughout her life, she showed enormous strength and a constant desire to be independent. She says that when she was a child, she lived with her family and received all the support she needed. Over time, she learned to do many tasks on her own and took small steps toward autonomy. One of the emotional memories she shares is the day she went to kindergarten, a moment that marked the beginning of her journey to earn her place in the world. Today, Yanina lives alone and has help from caregivers who assist with tasks like cooking, organizing the house, and accompanying her in physical activities such as swimming. She works, has a routine, exercises, and likes taking care of her appearance. According to her, getting ready and feeling beautiful isn't to impress anyone, but a way to value her self-esteem. On social media, she gained major visibility after a video of her dancing went viral. Since then, she has received received messages of support and admiration. Friends and people close to her say Janina is determined, intelligent, and always finds a solution for every difficulty. For her, living independently and continuing to achieve things that once seemed impossible is a source of pride. Janina emphasizes that she doesn't seek to be seen as a perfect example. She just wants to live fully, her way, showing that courage and dedication can transform realities. Carmen and Lupita are sisters physically joined at the head, an extremely rare condition. Since they were little, they learned to deal with challenges most people never imagined facing. Even so, they always made it clear that before anything else, they are two young women with personality, dreams, and their own lives. They explained that the basics of living with them are simple: respect. They don't expect special treatment, only that they be seen as ordinary people. Throughout life, they have suffered prejudice, been judged for their appearance, and even been called offensive names. At first, that hurt a lot, but today they handle that kind of attitude with maturity and humor, which was a way they found to move forward without letting prejudice define them. Despite the physical connection, each one has a very distinct personality. Carmen is known for being direct and decisive, while Lupita tends to be more empathetic and understanding. Together, they developed an even stronger bond, learning to balance differences and walk side by side, literally. Social life, however, isn't always simple. Many people stare, comment, or take photos in secret, which they consider very disrespectful. For them, questions aren't a problem. What matters is the way someone approaches. Education and empathy make all the difference. Even with difficulties, the sisters dream of an increasingly independent life and want to show that each person has their value, their story, and their way of existing in the world. They continue building their own path and inspiring others to see diversity with more humanity. In China, two elderly women drew attention around the world, not only for their impressive age, but for an extremely rare physical trait. Chen, at 107 years old, and Zhang Ruifang, at 101, became known on the internet for having horn-like structures growing on their foreheads. The case gained enormous attention on Douyin, a Chinese social network, where videos of them went viral quickly. Although many people associate this curious detail with the elders' longevity and even ask them not to remove the horns, the medical explanation is quite clear. What they have is a condition called a cutaneous horn. It is a type of skin tumor formed mainly by keratin, the same substance that makes up hair and nails. Although it is rare, it can happen in some people, usually as a result of many years of sun exposure, old scars, or even the action of certain viruses, such as HPV. In most cases, this type of formation is small and does not exceed 1 centimeter, but in exceptional cases like Chen's and Zhang's, the horns can grow quite a bit. Even so, specialists explain that in more than 95% of situations, they are benign and do not represent a cancer risk. Surgical removal is a possibility. However, the elderly women do not seem bothered by them and continue their lives normally. Don't forget to subscribe to watch more videos like this.